Thanks for listening to In the Game with Elliot. Be sure to subscribe to stay up to date on the latest episodes. This is episode 9 of In the Game with Elliot. I'm Elliot Georgiadis, and recently I got to speak with Tyger Danger, who is the Director of Communications for Bleacher Report and Turner Sports. Tyger is just an incredibly knowledgeable and passionate person, and I loved getting to pick her brain about the sports industry, and we covered some really interesting topics during our conversation. Hi, Tyger. Oh, I love your blazer.
I was actually, when you're going through your closet and you're trying to decide whether to get rid of something or keep it, it was in the get rid of pile, and I was like, no, I'm going to keep it.
Ooh, that was a good save. I like it a lot.
It was another day.
It's super stylish. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to do this today. I have been so looking forward to getting to talk to you because we had gotten to speak for like 2 seconds during that Lee Steinberg seminar, and I had started to ask you a question, and we were in those Zoom rooms, and then we got swapped, and I was like, no, dang it, because you were saying something that was like very insightful. But you were.
That's lovely to hear.
You know what's funny is that there's a lot of questions I want to ask you about your job, but the first question that I actually really wanted to ask you is, as someone with a unique name, I love your name. I totally want to know how you got your name. Is there some cool story behind how you became Tyger Danger?
Oh, thank you so much. It's Tyger is from a William Blake poem, Tyger, Tyger, Burning Bright. And then Danger is actually German for Danger.
Wow, that is so cool. So were your parents like, they thought it was
hippies?
Just...
No, I think they were hippies. I think they were closeted hippies. Like,
I wasn't going to put it exactly like that, but since you did.
It's so funny because like I've never heard them once mention like, oh, we gave you a unique name or a bizarre name or a strange name. To them, it's like very normal. My brother's name is Tane, which is the Hawaiian god of the sea. And so
That's cool too.
Just like are normal.
Right. That's so you just became a new mom, didn't you, this last year?
I did, little Charlie.
Oh, congratulations. I was going to ask you though, with a name like Tyger, did you feel compelled? Was there this pressure like, okay, I either have to do something off the wall, like really unique, or you were going to go like traditional?
I dabbled in the off the wall names. I think I thought about like River, Lion, but it was a no-go with the husband. So unfortunately, you both get a say in what you name your kid. So
yeah,
it had to be a compromise.
Well, I really wanted to know that because like I said, often people ask me how I got my name since it's not typical for a girl. So I always have had a deep appreciation for other people's names and how they got them. But you have a really cool job. Is one of the big reasons why I'm so excited to get to talk to you. So can you kind of explain a little bit what it is that you do for Bleacher Report as the Director of Communications?
Yeah, absolutely. It's been a wild ride being there for 6 years. The brand has grown exponentially. We've been able to accomplish so many new things, everything from events to, updating our app to launching like apparel. I mean, there's been so many twists and curves and turns and excitement and challenges. But what I actually do, like what I think I'd like to do is build the perception of the brand like externally. So when you think about Bleacher Report, you think about the way that it touches you from like all the different content or different ways. And I like to think that like through the media relations and the speaking opportunities and like getting our people out there, that's the way that you get to perceive the brand and the way that you feel about the brand. So those are just a few of the things that I get to work on, but big advocate for women within the company. And so try to get them out as much as possible and like really show the work and the people that bring Bleacher Report to life.
Yeah. And I was going to say, I think that's one of the things that's so interesting about Bleacher Report is there is so much diversity in the content. Like there's so many different avenues that I feel like the company has taken, especially in the last few years. And you came into the company at, I feel like was probably a really exciting time because they had just had that big expansion with Turner. So what was that kind of like going from a little bit of the earlier days to kind of seeing where it's at right now in 2021?
Yeah, absolutely. So, yeah, I think right after I started was post acquisition. So they had
Right.
gone from like their own independent entity, like probably very scrappy, as I like to say,
Yeah.
and being owned now by Turner Sports gives you so many different like capabilities from like being a part of linear or just like being part of a larger organization with like more resources. So at the time it was like really hard to get people to pay attention. They were like, who's Bleacher Report? Why should I care about this? Like, you're just a blog. Like, people don't even use that word anymore, blog.
Right.
Anyway, but yeah, so I think that it was kind of like the getting off the ground part was harder than I anticipated. But that makes it so much sweeter now. And like, I wear my backpack at the airport and people are like, oh, I love your app. I'm like, oh, I feel it. Like, I feel so proud, even though like I
Yeah.
don't work on the app. So yeah, it was a very interesting time to be part of a growing sports media company, and I wouldn't trade it for the world. It's been super exciting to work alongside the founders, Dave Finocchio, and the
Mm-hmm.
CEOs that we've had and the leaders that we've had, from Howard Mittman to Rory Brown, each one of them with their own unique like kind of point of view and things that they bring to the table. And that's one of the best parts of my job, is like getting to learn from them, like what
Yeah.
they do, why they do it, how they do it, stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. I would have to think that it would be really interesting to get to be a part of an organization that was started by a couple of guys who really love sports and wanted to write
Yeah.
about sports. And I think that it would be so cool to be a part of that kind of an environment where you have people that just genuinely are passionate about what they're doing, and that excitement that comes from the growth, I think must be really wonderful. So backing up then a little bit, you had obviously other jobs and a whole career path that led you to where you're at with Bleacher Report. So was PR what you wanted to do initially when you were, in college, planning for whatever the future would hold? Was this kind of communications route what you anticipated for yourself?
No, I was gonna say, you're so lucky that you like know what you want to do, and you're doing it right now. Like, look at you.
Yeah,
You're
this is career two, and this
No,
is
but you're
called,
very good at this.
oh,
You
thank you.
have the voice and the passion and the gravitas, I guess they would say. But
Oh,
I think it's great what you're like. You are
thanks.
doing what I was kind of like dabbling and trying to figure it out. I knew I wanted to be a journalist. I knew that I loved writing, so I took as many internships as I could. Right, so I wrote for the Gainesville newspaper, the largest student newspaper in the country, mind you.
Oh,
Go Alligator. And then I wrote for the Gainesville magazine, and I took an internship in New York, and I took an internship in DC, and tried to information gather of what I liked and didn't like. And I graduated in the middle of a recession. So I didn't have the opportunity to go get the dream job. I had
mm-hmm.
a ton of student debt that I needed to take care of, and I couldn't just go work for free like some folks were able to. Um, so I took what I could get, right? Somebody offered me a job. I said, thank you so much for taking a risk on me, because I have absolutely no skills and no track record that I can point to other than college. So from there, everything I looked at was like a stepping stone. I had good jobs, I had bad jobs, I had good managers, I had bad managers. And luckily, they all kind of led me to this path of Bleacher Report, working in, as an online editor on the Hill, getting to work at multiple PR agencies, big, small, for food, fashion, tech. And I think that kind of diverse melting pot of a background has actually served me quite well. I
Mm-hmm.
got to see a lot of industries and be on the pulse of the way that things are kind of up and coming. And sports is, I don't know, it touches so many different things, from food to fashion to culture, that it's kind of worked in my favor in a really great way. So long story, long-winded, short. I didn't know what I wanted to do, but I'm glad I'm here.
I think somebody I really respect, recently I heard them say sometimes you have to take a step backwards to take a step forwards. And so that's why I love kind of hearing how other people ended up where they are, because I think it's so important to remind others who are starting on whatever path that they're starting on, that's not necessarily going to be straight and that it might have a lot of twists and turns. So I love hearing you kind of talk about the different things that you did. And I love when people are really honest about the kind of oddball things that got them to where they are. Was there any point along your professional journey though, because you mentioned, you know, some things were great and some things were not so great, was there like a lesson learned from the not so great things that you're grateful for now?
Absolutely. I think all of the not so great experiences make me very grateful for the good ones.
Mm-hmm.
So it's things like we're very blessed at Bleacher Report. Like most non-pandemic times, like we have a beautiful office that has games and a keg and fresh fruit. And sometimes you'll hear grumblings maybe in the kitchen of someone will be like, this avocado is not ripe today. And you're like, I mean, I can remember being asked to clean a storage unit out for my boss because that's what they needed done that day. So I think that it's kind of like you build up, yeah, I don't know, you build up experiences where you're like, it's not necessarily greener on the other side. So you should be
Mm.
super grateful for what you have.
Yeah. That's you seriously, somebody asked you to clean out their storage unit?
Oh yeah, I used to clean out the closet at Redbook magazine every so often because they get sent so many free samples of things because people want them to write about their products, right?
Right.
And that all needs to be managed. So I was your girl.
Oh, that's a good one. Okay. So, you mentioned actually the pandemic, and that's something else that I wanted to kind of pick your brain on because I thought it was so interesting last year. I felt like when the NBA called it, that was like a huge turning point for the country, right? It was like that moment, this felt really real. And it was interesting to see that kind of as a cultural benchmark for us. And then fast forward a few more months later, and that was the thing that we were all desperate to have back was sports. So I thought it was such an interesting year to see how ingrained it was into our everyday life and how much it can really touch so many different aspects of our life. So I'm curious, what do you think from your job and your world was like a takeaway from that time, or maybe something that kind of changed how you operate as a brand?
I couldn't agree more with the pivotal moment and the impact that that had at
Mm-hmm.
that Mavericks game when they called it and people left the court. It really showed me the power of sports within our entire ecosystem and like community. Um, that was the moment that people really started to take the pandemic seriously, like you said. And so what has it done for our brand and like how we've changed things, I guess, is what the thing I'm like most proud of is the way that our organization responded. So
Mm-hmm.
one, it was everybody, let's take a breath. We're here in this together. Um, Lenny Daniels, the president of Turner Sports, made sure to address us all and always made us feel like we were safe and we were a family and like, the people were the number one priority, which has been something that he's talked about since I've been here. And so to see that remain true and come to life in such a traumatic and pivotal time in our country and a lot of people's lives, I was like, okay, I'm at the right place. Like I'm at a place where they care about the people. So that's something I was pretty proud of and pleased with. And then the way that our content team responded was really cool. Bleacher Report isn't necessarily the kind of media organization that's going to say, you should pay attention to this and this is what we think about it. I don't love it when broadcasters are screaming at you their opinions. What we do is we're more of a platform, right? So we amplified the athletes' voices. Not only was it a global pandemic, but parallel, you had incredible social unrest around the entire country.
Mm-hmm.
And athletes were heavily involved with that. It was personal to them. And so we amplified their voices, the things that were being posted and shared, we made sure to make room for and put on, front page news for us. So that was something I was really happy about as well in a pretty difficult time.
Are you just out of curiosity, is your office and teams working remotely for the most part still, or?
We are working remotely, but we've gotten really good at it. Everybody's like really good at Zoom and being like flexible and
Mhm.
chatting, and we use Slack. And I still do things like coffees for like informational coffees and chats and stuff like that. And we just kind of make it work.
Yeah. Do you want to go back to your traditional office
Yeah,
or?
I love the office. I love the coffee talk. I miss my coworkers.
Mhm.
I love getting dressed up for work. I love my job. I miss my friends and my colleagues. However, I have a little baby, so I can't, I'm trying to be as safe as possible at this moment in our time.
I would think that having that time truly at home was maybe helpful in that transition into motherhood. I mean, I'm not a mother myself, but you have a career that you seem really passionate about and that you're really dedicated to, and takes up a lot of your time. And then you have this, new little human that you're taking care of. So I would think that maybe it was like one of those little blessings in the year of so much difficulty that you were able to be home more.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I got to see a lot of really fun moments in my son's life that I probably wouldn't have gotten to if it had been normal times.
Yeah. So then on that kind of same kind of subject, for the most part, I feel like a lot of times when I'm, doing networking things or any kind of virtual chat, if it's women focused, a lot of the conversation is around being a woman in this industry because it, traditionally is so male dominated. So I'm curious working, so deeply in the nitty gritty of the sports world like you does it ever stand out to you? Like, do you ever find yourself being the only woman in a room and have to kind of think to yourself, huh,
Oh
okay,
yeah,
how does that
all,
change how I, yeah.
all the time. But you know what? I don't look at it as a detriment. I think it's actually a positive. I think that women think differently, and right, rightfully so. I mean, different genders. I also think people from different backgrounds and different ages, just having diversity in the room is so important. So yeah, I mean, there's a lot of times where I am the only woman in a room or the only mom in the room. But like I said, you got to show up as who you are and make it work.
hmm I love that you say that because I typically try to think of it as a positive as well. I think it's so great when women are able to be honest about the things that they struggle with in the workforce or struggling with gender issues. But I think it's even better when we can encourage each other to use it as a positive, right? And not necessarily see it as a detriment to our work or what we're
You
able
should
to
never see it
accomplish.
as a detriment. We're
Right.
amazing. We're doing amazing things.
Absolutely. And that's why sometimes,
Absolutely. Sorry, that was me on my soapbox, like really revving it up.
no, I think, and do you know what I'm saying though? Sometimes I feel like the conversations around gender can really spin in a negative
Yeah, in
direction.
like a sad way. I'm like, I
Yeah.
don't know what it is. I actually do know what it is. My mom is like a radical feminist, but she just without like classifying herself as that, she just thinks like her beliefs are like what should be the normal. And so like that's the way that I was raised. Like I remember like when I wanted to play football in like elementary school, but they made the girls jump rope. My mom was like, "Oh no, this is not gonna happen." And like, I mean, I've been fighting these battles since the third grade.
hmm Yeah.
You just
As
gotta. I'm a bulldog about it, and I think that it's part of my charm and my. No, I don't know. I probably sound like a nut job, but
oh, I don't think so.
I think I am a fiery radical feminist, and you got to be who you are.
Exactly. With your not labeled super feminist closet hippie parents.
Yeah. Oh my God, I've
Yeah.
been talking a lot about them. What is going on?
No, I mean, they sound like really fascinating people. And are
Yeah,
they German? Because you said your last name
yeah,
means something.
we're German and Swedish. I did one of those 23andMe things, and so I now know like the actual percentage points. A little bit of Finnish, which I was
Oh,
surprised
really?
about. Yeah.
I was gonna say, was it not what you expected?
No, it was like exactly what I expected. It was like heavy German, Swedish, but then you have like tiny little outliers of like
Right.
Eastern European, Finnish, and Wales.
Oh, interesting.
Very interesting. I highly recommend it. I mean, I don't know what everyone is doing with our proprietary information, but I enjoyed the experience for entertainment.
It's so funny about you saying that is my father, both sides of the family, his family, super Greek. My mom is super not, which is why I have my weird Elliot first name, but my father is super Greek and he is kind of nerdy. And we always joke that he would like to do one of those DNA test kits, but he was kind of afraid because one, it's like my information. And he didn't like, what if he wasn't really that Greek? And it was kind of, okay, whatever,
Well, a lot of
nervous.
people are scared to take those tests because of that. Like almost like it'll debunk the truths that they've been living their whole life. And I'm like, but don't you want to know?
Yes. So we finally did it during this year at home. We got him a
Okay.
kit for from Ancestry. We did ancestry.com for him. And he was very, very Greek, but like also super Italian. And we
See?
were
Was
exactly,
he
which we
upset? Was he happy? How did he
oh no,
react?
we thought it was cool. We thought it was very cool. And it was also cool because we didn't know certain other members of the family had also done ancestry and it gives you that list of like possible
Yeah.
relations. His aunt and his four other cousins that did it were the top 5 matches. So we were like, this seems pretty legit. It added to some like legitimacy of the test, which we thought was very interesting. So now he wants to go to Italy
I highly
because
recommend it.
apparently, oh, have you been?
I have been to the Italian Riviera and the French Riviera, and they were both phenomenal.
Oh, what was your favorite part?
I thought Nice was pretty cool, as well as Provence. Man, that made me
Oh,
sound like so bougie, but it was more like a backpacking trip with some girlfriends. It wasn't that, but it was really cool. I'm glad I got to go.
oh, that sounds amazing. Yeah, it's totally on my family's list now because we have this whole heritage that we've been neglecting, like, our whole lives. So that's what we want to do next, but no foreign travel right now.
Yeah.
Trying June 2022, but we'll see if that happens. Okay, so back to sports. Even though
Yeah.
I love hearing about like these German little tidbits, I think it's so great. With Bleacher Report, here's the other thing that I was curious about. Pandemic aside, there have been so many, I don't want to say startup companies, but you're just seeing so much more diversification in platforms and content. And you've got media companies that do your live cable stuff and have a hand in the digital. You've got companies like Bleacher Report that are more based in the digital that are expanding. And I'm just so curious how you see the next, and I know this is like the $1 million question that is kind of unanswerable, but in the next 5 to 10 years, how do you see social media continuing to impact consumption of sports content?
I think sports are very personal to people. The passion is at an all-time high when you have such an affinity for teams, leagues, players. So social media really just amplifies that. So for us, the way that we have really kind of doubled down on what we think the future will be is personalizing that. So within the Bleacher Report app, like I'm not getting sent a bunch of nonsense about teams and leagues I'm not particularly close to. Like I can really tailor it to exactly what I want. I'm getting my Gator news. I know all about football, basketball, who's traded, what the coach is doing, fastest alerts in the business. And like, I mean, when March Madness comes up, like I have all of the information that I need. I can have chats with my friends within the app about that. So I really think that like for social, for the app, for .com, like for us, it's all about building like communities where people can talk to, like themselves to their friends about sports. And like
Mm-hmm.
it sounds so basic, but the simplicity of it is really at the heart of what I think makes sports popular and lucrative.
I think that's interesting that you mentioned the personalization aspect because that's the thing that I think will be interesting to kind of see how it plays out is because there's just such a large volume of content. So how do you matter? How do you find a way to stand out? How do you find a way not to be repetitive? So I think it's interesting finding ways to make it personal. I love my little Bleacher Report app alerts for the things that I chose to follow, as opposed to just like hopping on Twitter, which isn't meant to
Oh my
necessarily be
gosh.
like,
It can be overwhelming on Twitter. It can
yeah,
be like, you know, whatever is dominating that news that day is going to completely overtake what you were probably trying to find.
absolutely. Yes. So I think it's
There's so much going on. You need some for folks to kind of just bring it in. Like, let's all just kind of start to narrow our focus a little bit more. I think when you try to be everything to everyone, you ultimately are nothing to no one. You need to focus on like doing really well at a few good things. And that's just so much more beneficial and authentic and genuine and impactful than trying to be everything to everyone.
Absolutely. I really like the way that you said that. And I think that it's valuable, not even necessarily in the sports world, but in any industry with any, outlet. I think that's such a good point to make. The other thing that I think is interesting though, even though you're talking about personalizing the experience, is that Bleacher Report offers, like we said a little bit earlier, so much diversity. I love Highlight Her. I love
Yeah,
it.
I love it. It's one of my favorite things to work on. I was actually working on it this morning. Ari did a profile, and I was just so proud. I mean, the love that people have for her and what she's doing, and her entire team, Felicia Kelly, is phenomenal. It's just, it makes me excited to go to work every day. I love working on it.
That's awesome. Well, then tell me a little bit, what have been some of your favorite projects with that?
So Highlight Her is similar to what we have done with House of Highlights in the vein of before going out and selling it and trying to make it profitable and, you know, the business behind sports, we really wanted to lay a solid foundation of content and community. So we wanted to know who we were and what we stood for and execute on that and kind of get in our flow before you start integrating partners, which I think is a great recipe for success.
Mm-hmm.
And we've done that. I mean, Ari and Felicia have created phenomenal content franchises like Goat Talk and Don't Sleep on Her, where they like talk about, you know, the underdogs and the players you should definitely be paying attention to, but probably don't get as much attention. Paint Her, which is like super interesting, where they're like painting murals and building things for the community that will live for eons. Like, it's just, everything they're doing is so important and also very culturally relevant and cool. They're a small team, you know, it's just a couple of them making it happen and putting in the work. And for me, one of the things that I'm personally passionate about, you know, amplifying girls, women in sports, aligns very much with what I'm excited about. So I'm very happy that I get to work on it.
I think that's really cool too, because there seems to be this kind of, I don't want to say disconnect, but in terms of advertising to men versus women and how sports information is distributed between those gender audiences, like that they can't be the same, or that I don't know, I think it's interesting to kind of see this push like you're talking about to highlight females that are doing incredible things that maybe don't get that same kind of attention, but also reaching out to women's sport athletes that maybe don't get to be included in the conversation as often, you know?
Yeah, we are approaching it, I think, in a very thoughtful and strategic way. It's a three-prong approach, right? You have covering female athletes and teams, very important. That's Highlight Her's sweet spot. You have catering to the female sports fan. In our mind, everyone is a sports fan, right? You and I are no different than Joe and John sitting next to us on the train. You know, we all kind of talk the same language and care about a lot of the same things. So I love that Bleacher Report thinks of everyone as a sports fan, and that's how they dictate their content to it. And then amplifying female storytellers. So like, we have what I think are some of the best in the business of female storytellers working on everything from The Arena, which is a content franchise that lives on NBA on TNT, with Candace Parker being an executive producer for one of the episodes, or Taylor Rooks' show, who had Take It There with Taylor Rooks, had an all-female crew of producers and writers, and obviously her as the host. I mean, that is propping them up and giving them resources and opportunities to tell those stories that maybe some of our male counterparts may not have been thinking of, is a great way to cater to fans of all ages, all genders, all facets of life.
Absolutely.
Fun fact, sorry to interrupt. Fun fact.
Oh no, I like it.
70% of Highlight Her's audience is male. So I really want to start I think if more people paid attention to the actual stats, data, and analytics of the background of who's paying attention to this stuff, it's so important. So like, I know them, I learn them, I use them for my job. So like, most men are also like fans of female athletes. I mean, think about, no man is going to be like, I'm not a fan of Serena Williams. Like, she's the GOAT, right?
Yeah.
So we have those kind of data and analytics to back that up, of like the audience breakdown, specifically Highlight Her, which is focused on female athletes and teams. And then the purchasing power oftentimes in a household is of a woman. So like if you are a brand and you're trying to get so-and-so to buy so-and-so product, like it makes more sense to be catering to the woman in the house who's probably actually going to be the one that hits purchase.
I'm so blown away by that 70% because I think it's fascinating.
Fascinating.
Yes, because then why? Because you look at something like that and then you wonder why isn't, I think especially after the NCAA tournament last spring, why are we having these issues?
There's quite the issues are there, right? However, the turning of the tide is also there. Michelob Ultra donated $100 million because they're going to start amplifying female athletes and teens and women's sports. You have more people investing in Highlight Her. We have several brands that are on board to work with us throughout the year. Like, people are starting to understand that the opportunity is now. Like, it isn't like, oh, we should talk about it and think about it for next year. Like, they are like, we got to get on this now because it's happening. Like, people are paying attention. There is, though, this, like, I don't know, how things just kind of, stereotypes just keep living. Like, I'm really trying to share that, like, so many people think only women are fans of women's sports, and like, that's just not true.
I think that's so fascinating. I really like that you shared that because I wouldn't have known that Highlight Her, which is meant to be what it is, right? That such a huge percentage of that audience are male. So that, like you're saying, then why is there still this misconception that exists that there won't be that same kind of interest for female sports and sports teams?
Wow.
Oh, yeah. I love that you shared that. This is so exciting for me because I feel like I just got some insider information and perspective from this, like, super cool sports professional that I wouldn't have known.
That's me.
Yes. So actually, since we were talking about diversity of content, though, this is not anything to do with women in sports, but all the different Bleacher Report, kind of platforms. I personally, because you're talking about like what you offer to different kinds of sports fans, personally probably wouldn't have ever cared about BR Kicks. Not necessarily like a huge shoe person, but Jeremy Jones, I just saw that last night. His run a mile in Crocs, obsessed.
So fun, right?
Yes.
Yeah, the BR Kicks is a phenomenal team. What they do is really special. They have really taken the sneaker culture media space to a new level. Like, what their new sketch comedy show, their, the way that they have Unboxed, where they show you like the latest kicks and like have the interview with the athlete. Like, they do a really phenomenal job.
So I'm just so interested and drawn in now in a way I wasn't before. And I'm a huge, like, everybody's got like that one oddball friend in their friend group. I'm the weirdo that's obsessed with Crocs. My friends aren't about it. They try to get me to stop. I won't stop. Now I want to go see if I can run a mile in Crocs because he did it. And it's like, I think I maybe need to try that. But anyways, I thought it was super cool. And I thought it kind of spoke to the cool culture that I think Bleacher Report has created online. And I think you mentioned this earlier, that it's this mindset of like everybody can be a sports fan. And I don't feel like when I look at their stuff or when I engage with something that it's, I want to say too much, but I feel like there should be a better word to describe that. But it's not like this boy talk, locker room talk, in your face, clear cut.
Good.
Yeah.
I want everyone to feel welcome. Like, I want to work at a brand where everyone feels included in some capacity. Like I said, you can't be everything to everyone. However, there's an entry point into sports for everyone, whether that's food or fashion or kicks or actual like X's and O's of a game or sports betting. So I'm really happy with the portfolio brands and how hard each one of them work to be the best they can for all of the fans.
hmm That's the other thing I think about too with your job, because I feel like you have to have your hands in a lot of different things. So, like, what does a typical, I won't even say like a day, but like, what's a typical week for you, maybe like in terms of the different projects that you work on throughout the course of a week or hour? I don't know. You tell me, like, what you give a time frame and you tell me what it's like.
That is one of the blessings of the job, is like getting to work across all of the things, like, and having your ear to the ground of what new projects are coming about and what's on tap for the next week. So I sit in a lot of meetings. It's riveting stuff. No, but I think meetings are important. It's information sharing, right? So ultimately my job really boils down to being a connector, to taking what we're doing internally and sharing it with appropriate stakeholders, whether that's like media, press on the outside, or maybe it's agents who are looking for their athletes to be involved in some of the different shows or content opportunities that we're doing. Like I think my days are too all over the place to be able to really like share what a week looks like, because the sports calendar is all over the place, right? You know, sometimes
Right.
you have the Olympics, sometimes you have, and then you have constants like college football starting, or at the start of NBA. And now we just got NHL, so I'm like learning how to talk hockey. So
Right.
all very interesting and exciting.
Yeah. Curious though, because you consume so much sport all the live long day, what's your thing that you go to like turn your brain off? Like, what's the binge show on Netflix, or what's the book that
I'm
you,
really gonna like let down my walls and share that like I'm a repeat watcher. Like I'm like a crazy repeat watcher, and it makes me feel really like calm and at peace. Like I probably watched The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel over and over and over again. And like I know what's gonna happen. Nothing's gonna scare me. It's not gonna stress me out because like it's all gonna work out in the end. I watch
nothing's gonna,
Friends and The Office. Um, I just started 30 Rock from the beginning because I had actually never seen that, and it's in the
no, I
same
haven't either.
vein of like just, I don't know, comedy, light, peaceful. I do dabble in other things that scare me, like Mayor of Easttown was very scary.
Oh yeah, no, I didn't watch
I
that.
need peaceful things in my life because my job's pretty stressful and I have a baby and that's stressful. So, like I said, don't tell anyone, but I repeat watch shows like a crazy person.
I won't tell anyone, but I really don't think that you're alone, because I feel the exact same way. If I find a show, like in quarantine, I never got into Schitt's Creek. Schitt's Creek has
Oh, that was
become
phenomenal. That was
so
so
good.
great.
So good. For a long time, it was Big Bang Theory as like the end of the night before you go to bed, something that's not going to scare you, something that doesn't make you think too hard. That was my like go to, don't want to have my brain work. It's been the last year, it's been Schitt's Creek for me.
That
And
was
that
very good too.
wasn't it?
I was late to the party on that one. I remember when I started watching it, people were like, "You haven't seen Schitt's Creek?" I'm like,
Me too.
"Sorry."
Yeah. No, to be honest, I didn't think I had seen some clips and I was like, I don't know if I would like it, but I decided to just watch the first episode. And what got me was when they're yelling shut up at each other, because that is my brother and I to a T. Like we love each other, but the way they were saying, you shut up. No, you shut up. I was like, oh my God, I have to watch this whole show now, because that's us. I actually think I'm gonna get my brother to dress up as David for Halloween this year, and I want to be Alexis, but
Oh,
that's
you
just
should. That would be amazing.
we'll see if I can talk him into it. He doesn't own any skirts, and I feel like you need a skirt to really
You
pull
can make
off.
that happen, though.
I think so too. I think so too. Well, I listen, I love getting to know that little glimpse into your behind the scenes life, but I think a majority of people are like us. I think they like being repeat
I hope so.
watchers.
No,
Yeah,
I won't feel so crazy.
no, you won't. So listen, I have 10 final questions that I ask everybody just kind of for fun.
Let's go.
So
I'm getting
question number one is, what is something that makes you smile?
my baby Charlie.
I really do like that name. Number two, what is your favorite smell?
Probably lavender.
Ooh, that's a great one. Do you like lavender drinks? Because that's been a
Yeah.
thing I've noted. Oh, okay. That's a good one too. Number three is, what is your favorite word?
Oh man. I used to really like braggadocious. Um,
That's a fancy one.
That's a fancy one. Also,
Somebody that wears
flabbergasted.
that jacket would say braggadocious.
Yeah, you're being so braggadocious. Flabbergasted was like a SAT word or something. So I'll always remember that one.
Oh, that's a good one too. Number 4, what song always fires you up?
Anything Taylor Swift.
Did you see that she released her new version of one of the songs today? Oh my gosh. There's a new one out today from her new album.
Check it out.
Yeah, you need to. 5 is what is something everyone loves but you hate?
Oh, I don't know. I like, maybe olives, but I don't know if everyone loves olives.
I don't like olives, but
Okay,
I'm
so
an anomaly because I'm
top
Greek and
I don't know.
That's yeah, olives. You can go with olives. What is the most rebellious thing you did as a teenager?
I stole my parents' car and drove it before I had my license.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's pretty rebellious. Where did you go?
I went to the beach.
Because you lived in Florida.
Yeah.
Okay.
Don't do
well,
that, Charlie, or other children listening to this.
That's a good disclaimer. I wouldn't probably encourage that one either. No. 7, what is one of your guilty pleasures?
Oh, I love a lovely glass of red wine.
8, pancakes or waffles?
Pancakes.
With any topping?
Just syrup.
That's a good one. What are 3 things you must do every day?
Brush my teeth, go for a walk, and really get as much snuggles in with Charlie as I can while he's still little.
All right. Last question then is, if you were not doing what you are doing professionally right now, what is another profession that you would have maybe liked to try?
I would say like it would have been interesting to go into politics, but like that's before I knew so much about how politics actually works. Gosh, I mean, who doesn't want to be a professional athlete? Like, can I just say something like that I would love to be a professional tennis player, but
I was gonna say what sport?
That's not in the cards for me because I'm not that good at it. So
that's okay. You know what's funny is politics is probably what I thought I wanted to do before I was like, no, sports would be a much better direction to go with your life.
Yeah, I like things that are lighthearted and fun. Like, I really love how fun it is to work here. And I don't envy people that have like really challenging real jobs, like being a doctor. Like, I think that would be a really, really hard day every day. So I agree. Thank you, doctors, for doing that and being you. I'm genuinely impressed.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. Well, thank you so much for making some time in your busy schedule. I really appreciated the chance to get to talk to you and pick your brain a little bit and get your insight on things going on in the sports world. So thank you so much, Tyger.
Thank you so much. Thank you for taking the time to talk to me. I had a lot of fun. I hope that, my jovial, lighthearted self was beneficial for everybody, but I'm always available to help and lend a helping hand. So let me know anytime.
Thank you so much, Tyger. Have a good one.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye. Thanks again for listening to this episode of In the Game with Elliot. Be sure to subscribe and leave a review. Also, check out In the Game with Elliot on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook, or watch full episodes on the YouTube channel.